the West Virginia Higher Education Policy Commission. I love what I do. I have a background in campus mental health, but also have a background as an assistant professor. I worked at Mount West Community College for several years, and I still do adjunct teaching at several universities. And so I'd love to be able to do both sides, and it gives me a unique perspective. And so I love working with others on how we can connect and create relationships with students. Research does show that if we create relationships with students, we help them to feel engaged, then that's going to increase their overall well-being, but also increase their overall student success. And so, thank you all for being here. And, if there are questions, we'll get to those afterwards, and there will be time to ask questions and process. So there's several things I want us to discuss before we do, process strategies or what we can do to better connect and engage with our students. But I want to acknowledge just the things that we all are going through as professors. There's just been a lot of changes, right? Especially after COVID. It changed a lot of things for me when I worked in campus mental health and the counseling center. But it also, there's been changes throughout the years. And course delivery. When I was in a counseling program at Marshall, it was in person. Now that counseling program has grown and it's online. So there's a lot of different course options. There's been an increase in hybrid course options, and there's also changes in requirements at different universities, and these change as well. So all of these changes impact professors. So definitely want to acknowledge the things that you all have to do and changes you have to endure, as well as trying to manage your classroom and ensure that students learn. Also, expectations. I wish I could see all of your faces, because I'm sure the expectations were all like, woo, they've grown, right, over the years. I've been teaching for about 10, 12 years, and, a lot has changed in just what is required from us. A lot has changed in how we do things. And I was reading some articles preparing for today, and a couple articles said, professors and faculty are expected to be first responders, and we are in a helping profession. We are teachers and professors and counselors and behavioral health persons and other professions that serve. And so that is part of our job. So we're not going to minimize that, but there have been changes in that expectations of what we want you to look for, and what we want faculty and professors to do and respond. It's also, the expectation of, we expect you to know campus resources and refer students. Of course, we're helping people. We're going to do that anyhow, right? But there's a lot of different increases in campus resources, and there's a lot of different things on campuses. Students are presenting with things that we may not know what to do with. And so those expectations of being first responders, and as well as there's been an increase in documentation. I've worked on several campuses, and since Virginia Tech, which is, a good thing we're doing now, is we're trying to increase communication between faculty and staff and administration. But what that has done also is it's increased documentation and things that we need to do. I've been on campuses that use several programs that, you can document things, or if you have concerns about students or if they're missing a lot, these are things we want to track as educational institutions and faculty. But again, we need to acknowledge, though, that there has been changes in expectations and increase in job duties for faculty and staff. Remember, you're human. And I have to remind myself this as well. When we connect with our students, we don't want to stand up there like, Dr. Layne and, be a robot sometimes. We're human, and it's okay to let your students know that. And I have here several times, within limits and boundaries, we don't want to self-disclose all of our personal information, but it's okay to be vulnerable and honest. It's okay to say, guys, we're getting towards finals, I'm ready for break as well. We can do this, find ways to engage with your students, but also let them know that you're human, that you've experienced some things, that you're here to help. Know your strengths and weaknesses, and share them sometimes. And that can also help you connect and build relationships. I'm a terrible name person. terrible. I've worked with so many different people over the years. Names are, they just, I don't know. It's just, I'm not good with them. Faces, characteristics, or just qualities about that person, or things, even where they're from, very good at remembering those. I've had a student, I recognized her in public and waved and didn't remember her name at all. And she could probably tell by my face, but I knew exactly who she was. I hadn't had her in years. But I remembered that she was from Shady Springs. And I said, Shady Springs. She was so happy. She didn't care. I didn't know her name, right? Because just finding ways to connect. So I know my weakness is that I'm not the best with names, but showing that you try, showing that you actually just remember who they are, and you serve some purpose in their life, and you're trying to connect with them. So important. Try not to compare our college experiences. I've done it. I'm sure most of us on here have done it. I've said, gosh, they're so spoiled. College is so different today. I'm sure some of us have said these things, but we have to be careful with that. We don't want to compare our experiences to the experiences of college students today. Of course, it's different. I haven't been in college in almost 20 years, and undergrad, traditional aged college. And so it's different. It's not the same. College has changed. Technology has changed. So, we got to remember to, keep in mind that we need to understand their experiences, or try to understand their experiences, and showing them that is going to really help build that classroom connection. I started to include some data, and I was like, we'll be here all day because I love talking about, data when it comes to student success, mental health, and just overall campus mental health and well-being. But just several things that, have occurred. There's been an increase in the utilization of campus counseling centers and wellness services. These have increased on campuses across the nation. So, students are utilizing it, which is great, but that's also an increase. And then faculty and staff are seeing these students that have these concerns. And so, sometimes these symptoms arise in the classroom or in their attendance. And so faculty get intertwined in that as well. Increase in services and opportunities for first generation students. Sometimes we forget, and there's many first generation students that really don't know. We don't know what you don't know. And it's important for us to remember that. And so we also to remember that there is an increase in first generation students attending college, which is wonderful. But we also have to keep that in mind as professors and in our classroom. There's been an increase in accessibility, access, and opportunities, increase in opportunities for non-traditional students. So we're seeing, a lot of, diverse groups of students in college today. And so we have to look at students as individual and help them through some of the different challenges that they're facing. According to the Center for Collegiate Mental Health, some of the top concerns that students are experiencing in higher ed, family concerns, relationship problems, mental health concerns, financial issues, trauma, and low self-esteem. And these are all presenting current concerns nationally in an annual report that the Center for Collegiate Mental Health does. And so these are things I'm sure we're all seeing in the classroom with some students. And so we're having to manage our classrooms and teach, but also help students with these concerns. And also help connect with them. So recognizing that these are some of the things these students are going through, trying to be understanding of those is going to help that connection. So as we're first responders in the classroom, some faculty might feel uncomfortable or unprepared to navigate some concerns that they see. And some faculty may feel uncomfortable in recognizing a mental health crisis. And I pulled this in here because it's that connection. I've had many faculty come to me as a counseling center director and say, I have a student that's really going through it. I just don't know. Bingo, that was it. That faculty wanted to understand, okay, what can I do to better assist this student? And it's okay to reach out. That's something I recommend. Finding a way to connect to this student, finding a way to help them, definitely reaching out to others on campus to assist you in that. So we don't have to be first responders alone. There was a study done by the Healthy Minds Network survey, and it found that many professors did have one-on-one phone, video, or email conversations with students about mental health and wellness in the past 12 months. Half of the respondents were confident that they could recognize a student in emotional distress or crisis and help them, but the other half did not. And 1 in 5 respondents said it took a toll, excuse me, that typo, on their own mental health to support students. So sometimes you might receive or get burnout. Sometimes that doing all you have to do as faculty and as first responders in the classroom may take a toll on you. So that's something we have to consider as well. As we want to connect with students. We need to connect with students. It's super important for learning and student success. But also we have to make sure we're taking care of us as well. Recognizing external and internal factors that can impact students and their performance in class is important. Again, I think sometimes as faculty, we get older, we get in our lives, we sometimes forget, or we may not understand some of the challenges that students are facing today, which are, a little bit different than what we may have experienced in college. So these are just some of these concerns. I've seen all of these as a counseling center director. Students might have difficulty with high school versus college. They might have, difficulty socializing and may not really know how to make friends outside of, their comfort zone, new living and learning environment. Sometimes the first time away from home. The amount of students I've seen that do not have support, it's so many. And so there's a lot of these things that students are going through. And so if students can feel comfortable and connected, sometimes all it takes is you connecting them to a campus resource, or it's often important to create this connection environment in your classroom because the students will feel connected, hopefully. Even if it's online, there's ways that you can try to attempt to have connection in that way as well. But what happens is, and several articles show that if you create that connection, the students will start to help each other through some of these things. So creating that faculty connection is not going to just help you as a faculty, but it's also helping each student as well. And these are some of the internal factors and experiences that students are faced with. Trauma, and often, we see mental health diagnoses, coming to college with them or undiagnosed. Many college students are in that age where they're, discovering their identity and who they are. Self-esteem is a big one again on data that shows, different concerns with college students. Family dysfunction, many other concerns that students are presenting with that can affect their ability to connect, their ability to function on a college campus, and their ability to just, function in the academic realm as well. It's so important to get to know your students as individuals. Depending on your mode of teaching, if it's online, hybrid, and sometimes that does create some difficulty in that, but making that attempt to see it as each person is an individual. I really like to apply counseling strategies to the classroom. And it's really important to do that to build connection and relationships. So, try to utilize an individualized approach. Everyone learns different. No one is the same. Even using a getting to know you worksheet or asking everyone to introduce themselves short. They're just trying to find, and even telling students that I'm using this because I want to get to know you, and I want to get to know you as individuals, and I want to be able to help you where I can. And that alone can make someone, feel good. Think of us again, we're human. We have to remember that, and we feel good when people want to get to know us and care. And so having that in your classroom is so important. Students will feel heard and that they matter. That's big. A lot of people or, and students in college I've experienced as a counseling center director is that they just don't feel like they matter. They're kind of out of place. They haven't found their space yet. And so you as a faculty, letting them know that is so important. And making an effort to get to know your students. That is just important. Students can see and they can tell. And so we got to make an effort to get to know each one as an individual. Creating a person-centered classroom. Like in counseling, creating having a person-centered approach is looking at each person as an individual and building rapport and having an unconditional positive regard and trying to create a positive atmosphere. And so these are things that we want to try and have in our classroom to help build that connection. Including mental health information in your syllabi, including that, discussion of resources, your first day of class, or and announcing those throughout the semester. Creating a mental health community in the classroom, and I got that from the source at the bottom, and it was really trying to show how we can help students in student success, how we can help them function in the classroom, but also how we can just create this positive connection and build relationships with students. But it said when you nurture a mental health community among your students, you give them others to turn to besides you. And you create a new, more powerful front line made up of fellow students who trust one another, forming an interlocking web of support. And so you building that connection, that environment in your classroom is going to help you, and it's going to help students get to know one another and hopefully connect. Use your resources, seek guidance and help from colleagues. Staff is there to assist you with student life and student affairs concerns. So turn to them. I remember as a counseling center director, we had faculty all the time that would, walk a student over and be like, see ya, thank you, and that's okay. That's not your realm of things, and that's okay, but you did the right thing. You took, time out of your day to help that student. You showed that connection and that you care, and there you go. But seek guidance and help on how you can help students and build that connection, and also help them with any concerns that they might be having. Help students increase connection with campus organizations, activities. You can just have announcements, share announcements in your class about these things, and help them connect to the overall campus environment as well. Include campus department and staff in your courses as guest speakers. If you can fit that in. I know we're on a timeline and we have, 14 to 16 weeks to get everything in, but include others in your classroom, making it engaging, and that can help build that connection as well. Utilize a wraparound approach, and I love a wraparound approach as, that is using other people, including a team around your students to help them. And that's what other, campus staff is there for. And the Center on Positive Behavioral Interventions and Support to develop the resource. It's a really cool tool. It provides teacher strategies to help build connection and relationships. And they even give several about how to build, how to look at diversity and culture in your classroom, how to assess mental health and different things in your classroom, and building connection there. And so really cool tools on and just using those resources that are available for us. Making sure we look at diversity and inclusion, making sure we're culturally aware. Things change. It's important that we have that culture and we let students know that, this is everyone's included, everyone matters. Understanding the meaning of education in some cultures. We may not understand why this, some students might be behaving the way they are, or some students may have different perspectives of education. And it's really important. Building that connection by getting to know them and who they are. So creating a climate and culture of positivity. We need to create a positive school climate that creates keys to student success. And so when we look at that overall, a positive classroom environment can help with student success. But student success also that's a reflection of us. That's our quality of our teaching, our ability to build relationships, our ability to help students along the way and learn. And that's so important that we do that. So having that positive culture in your classroom is just beneficial for everyone involved. Different surveys have, discussed, what students need, what they feel like they want. And some of these are just some things that students appreciated. Send messaging that questions are welcome. I get it. Sometimes I've gotten question after question after question from one student, and that's going to happen sometimes, but still send that. Obviously, that student felt comfortable. So we want to send that message. Questions are welcome. Please come communicate. Let students know this often. Students preferred a more engaged classroom. They actually became frustrated when the classroom wasn't engaging. So keeping that in mind, students want to connect, they want to engage, and we have control over that in the classroom of how much we, create that. And so it's important to create that. Communication and positive interactions create positive faculty and student relationships. So it's so important to create just positive relationships, and having communication and encouraging students to come and talk to you is very important. Having interviews with students, it reveals the importance of both innovative institutional supports and faculty initiative. It's so important to have these, and students process that they want to have these, and they enjoyed when faculty reached out to them. They enjoyed when there was encouraging interaction between students in the classroom. They liked when there was engaging teaching activities, and they loved when faculty showed passion and that they cared. Just simple things that students really look for and can be beneficial to them. And here are the references used today, and some really good resources out there with different teaching strategies that we can use. We don't have time to go through too many today, but I hope that we all can begin to build positive connections with our students. And, I hope that today you were able to take something away from this. And this is the contact information with myself and Carolyn and our colleagues at the Higher Ed Policy Commission and the Behavioral Health Sciences Division.